we have a standard for that position, regardless of who's in there. Practice, games, how we operate, what we believe in. We have a very, very high standard.
It should have been 2 competitions going on at the same time throughout training camp. Figure out who the best older veteran guy is, and we're going to figure out who the best rookie is. And we walk into the season with those 2 people, 1-2 on the depth chart, understanding that's the way we'll play out the season. We're going 2-minute here. We're going red zone here, right? It's unscripted, and both coaches on each side of the ball are calling the plays as the ball moves. Those guys need those sorts of reps against the Myles Garretts and the Denzel Washingtons in case they have to be thrust into the... For all the people that called me a sellout throughout the week, for my analysis on Shedeur Sanders, for the people that messaged me Uncle Tom or commented fool, I do want to say something to you sincerely from the bottom of my heart. And
when NFL analyst Ryan Clark got called an Uncle Tom for saying Shedeur Sanders belongs behind Dylan Gabriel on the Browns' depth chart, he didn't apologize or backtrack. Instead, he delivered one of the most savage responses in sports media history. I do want to say something to you sincerely from the bottom of my heart. Kiss my ass. But here's the thing. Clark's brutal honesty about Shedeur might actually be the wake-up call that saves the young quarterback's career. Because while everyone's screaming about loyalty and race, Clark revealed something that could change everything about how we see Shedeur's future in Cleveland.
And I'm going to admit something on TV that you probably shouldn't. I'm rooting for Shedeur Sanders. I wanted to turn the film on and be able to come on First Take, be on Get Up, and be on NFL Live and pound the table that he has been done wrong. Pound the table that he deserves to be the week 1 starter. He deserves to be the 2 on the depth chart. But if you watch the film, if you compare it to what we did see from Dylan Gabriel, that's just not the...
Ryan Clark, the same dude who's been riding hard for black athletes his entire career, sits down in front of the cameras and does something most analysts would never do. He tells the uncomfortable truth. I'm rooting for Shedeur Sanders, he admits right off the bat. I wanted to turn the film on and be able to pound the table that he deserves to be the week 1 starter. But then comes the gut punch that sent social media into a frenzy. If you watch the film, if you compare it to what we did see from Dylan Gabriel, that's just not the case. Can you imagine the pressure Clark felt saying those words? Here's a man who genuinely wants to see Deion's son succeed, who believes in Shedeur's talent, having to tell millions of viewers that the hype doesn't match the tape. That takes guts, and it's exactly why the backlash hit him like a freight train. The internet exploded. Twitter fingers started flying. People who probably never watched a single Browns practice suddenly became experts on quarterback development. They called Clark every name in the book: sellout, Uncle Tom, traitor to his own community. But here's what those keyboard warriors missed. Clark wasn't just throwing Shedeur under the bus for clicks and views. He was doing something much more dangerous in today's social media landscape. He was telling the truth. Think about it. Clark could have easily taken the safe route. Could have said what everyone wanted to hear, that Shedeur's getting screwed over, that racism is keeping him down, that he should be starting day 1. The crowd would have loved it. The likes would have poured in. But Clark chose the harder path, and when the hate came rolling in, he didn't just defend himself. He went nuclear.
Use a 5th-round draft picks. 5th-round draft picks get 5th-round treatment, even if we don't feel like they deserve to be drafted in the 5th round. So you're going to play with some guys who don't make the team. You know who else you're going to play against? Some guys that don't make the team. As an undrafted guy, I understand I wasn't going to get the same reps as the 5th rounders or the 6th rounders, just as I understand Shedeur Sanders won't get the same reps as a Dylan Gabriel. Shedeur,
what do you see from this offense?
Well, first off, they just didn't want to make a hard decision. Right? The figuring out who's going to be number 2 is going to be a difficult decision. It would have been a much harder decision to figure out which one of those young men would start. And when you look at what the Cleveland Browns are doing, this is why people spin the block in relationships, right? You remember, hey, man, I had a great relationship with this person. Then I moved to this person and it wasn't so good.
Or when you feel like this young guy has established himself enough for us to go with him in the season, you pull the trigger right now. Because
the thing is, he was a 5th-round draft pick. Clark fired back at his critics. 5th-round draft picks get 5th-round treatment, even if we don't feel like they deserve to be drafted in the 5th round. This is where it gets real, folks. Clark's, dropping knowledge that most fans don't want to accept. 32 teams passed on Shedeur multiple times. That's not racism. That's 32 front offices making the same evaluation. And when Cleveland finally pulled the trigger with the 144th pick, they weren't getting a polished, ready-made starter. They were getting a project with massive upside. But here's the twist that nobody saw coming. Clark's brutal assessment might be the best thing that ever happened to Shedeur Sanders. See, while everyone's focused on the controversy, they're missing the bigger picture. Clark just took all the pressure off Shedeur's shoulders. Think about it. If you're sitting behind Dylan Gabriel on the depth chart, what does that really mean? It means you don't have to be the savior. You don't have to carry the weight of an entire franchise's expectations. You get to learn, develop, and wait for your moment. Remember what happened when the Browns actually released their depth chart? Shedeur was listed as QB3, exactly where Clark predicted. The man called it like he saw it, and he was right. But instead of celebrating his accuracy, people doubled down on the hate. That's when Clark decided enough was enough. For all the people that called me a sellout throughout the week, for my analysis on Shedeur Sanders, for the people that messaged me Uncle Tom, kiss my ass. The audacity of that moment still gives me chills. Here's a respected analyst, someone who's built his entire brand on being authentic and real, telling his critics exactly what he thinks of their outrage. But the beauty of Clark's response wasn't just the savage delivery, it was the message behind it. Clark wasn't backing down because he knows something most fans refuse to acknowledge. He's seen the film. He's broken down the plays. He understands what it takes to succeed at the NFL level, and he's not going to sugarcoat reality just to make people feel better. I'm not going to holler sabotage and racism when I don't truly believe something is sabotage and racism, Clark explained. And this is where his argument gets really interesting. Because Clark admits he had issues with how Shedeur was covered in the pre-draft process. Those anonymous reports attacking his character? Clark called that out as potentially racist. The attempts to tear down a young, confident black quarterback? He saw through that nonsense. But what's happening in Cleveland? That's just football. Business. And here's where Clark's defense of his position gets brilliant. He points out that as an undrafted player himself, he understands the hierarchy. I wasn't going to get the same reps as the 5th rounders or the 6th rounders, just as I understand Shedeur Sanders won't get the same reps as Dylan Gabriel. This is real talk from someone who's lived it. Clark's not some media talking head who never stepped foot in a locker room. He's a former NFL player who understands how the system works. And his message to Shedeur is clear: you've got to earn it. But wait, there's more. Clark drops another truth bomb that nobody wants to hear. Shedeur Sanders has to play better. Ouch, that's got to sting for the Sanders faithful. But before you grab your pitchforks, consider what Clark's really saying here. He's not saying Shedeur can't play. He's not saying he'll never make it. He's saying that right now, today, with the tape that exists, Shedeur needs to step his game up, and you know what? That might be exactly what Shedeur needs to hear. Think about it from the young quarterback's perspective. He's been the golden child since high school. College superstar. NFL legacy name. Everyone's been telling him how great he is for years. But Clark's giving him something more valuable than praise. He's giving him truth. I do believe that he still can have a bright future, but we have to wait a while to see that. There it is. Clark's not writing Shedeur off. He's setting realistic expectations. And in a league where young quarterbacks get thrown to the wolves too early and never recover, maybe that's exactly what Shedeur needs to. Here's the part that really gets me fired up about this whole situation. While everyone's arguing about loyalty and race, they're missing the strategic brilliance of what's happening in Cleveland. The Browns aren't disrespecting Shedeur by putting him 3rd on the depth chart. They're protecting him. You want to know what pressure looks like? Ask Dylan Gabriel. He's the one who has to produce immediately. He's the one who'll take the heat if the Browns start 1-6. Meanwhile, Shedeur gets to watch, learn, and prepare for his moment without the weight of expectations crushing him. The camera is going to be on him every single game, just like our source pointed out. More than any 5th-round quarterback in history. That's not punishment, that's opportunity. Every sideline reaction, every moment of preparation, every interaction with teammates is going to be scrutinized. If Shedeur handles that pressure, well, stays engaged, keeps supporting his teammates, he's building his brand for the future. And when his number finally gets called, when Dylan Gabriel struggles or gets hurt, and Shedeur steps in ready to ball out, that's going to be his moment. That's when all this criticism turns into vindication. But here's the real kicker. Clark's tough love approach is exactly what champions need. Look at Tom Brady. Drafted 199th overall. Sat behind Drew Bledsoe. Used that motivation to become the GOAT. Patrick Mahomes. Sat behind Alex Smith his rookie year. Used that time to develop into an MVP. The best quarterbacks don't need to start immediately. They need to be ready when opportunity knocks. And that's where Clark's analysis gets really interesting. Because while everyone's focused on the controversy, Clark revealed something crucial about Shedeur's situation. The Browns. Know they've got something special in that young man. They drafted him for a reason. But they also know the value of patience in quarterback development. Ryan Clark ended his response with something that should make every Shedeur fan proud. I am still rooting for Shedeur Sanders. I don't just support the Sanders family. I love them. Deion Sanders is my big bro. That's not the words of a sellout or an Uncle Tom. That's love tough enough to tell hard truths. Clark wants Shedeur to succeed so badly that he's willing to take the heat for keeping it real about where the young quarterback stands right now. So, while the keyboard warriors are typing their outrage, Clark's out here providing the kind of honest analysis that could actually help Shedeur's development. Instead of blowing smoke and setting unrealistic expectations, he's painting a clear picture of the path forward. The question isn't whether Shedeur Sanders can play in the NFL. The question is whether he's ready to put in the work necessary to prove all the doubters wrong. And if Ryan Clark's tough love serves as motivation rather than discouragement, this whole controversy might just be the best thing that ever happened to the young quarterback's career. Because at the end of the day, champions aren't made from praise and participation trophies. They're forged in the fire of criticism, shaped by adversity, and molded by the kind of honest feedback that hurts in the moment but builds character for a lifetime. Ryan Clark just gave Shedeur Sanders the ultimate gift, the truth. Now it's up to Shedeur to decide what he's going to do with it. What do you think? Is Ryan Clark right about Shedeur needing more development time? Or is Cleveland wasting a generational talent on the bench? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe because this Shedeur Sanders story is just getting started. And we're going to be here breaking down every single twist and turn until he gets his shot to prove everybody wrong.